Welcome to Lesson 2 in Small Group Instruction for Personalized Learning in the middle school classroom. In this lesson, we are going to look at the why and the how of small group learning. One of the first things that we need is to have vocabulary that is consistent across our district. So for elementary through middle school, we need to be speaking the same vocabulary. So first of all, we've got the definition for small group instruction, where we're using a variety of tools to help students become independent. And it will free us up as teachers to work with small groups and focus on specific tasks. When we're talking about blended learning, we're talking about a combination of face-to-face learning in small groups as well as using technology or books to work on practices. Personalized learning is actually one of the pillars for Cajon Valley's instructional model, and students will be learning at their instructional levels using personalized learning. When we're talking about station rotations, we are discussing how students move from one activity to another in these different stations that are being set up. Game boards are a version of a HyperDoc that give individualized tasks to be completed by students. And playlists are also tasks and activities that students can choose and work at their own pace. So these vocabulary terms are things that we should be hearing throughout our district, and everyone should have a good sense of what these terms mean. In this lesson, you will find a list of these terms in a PDF that you can print off and use in your classroom. So there are 4 specific reasons why we should be using small group learning. First of all, we can use stations to address the levels of depth of understanding for students. Students are at varying levels of understanding, and if we work in small groups, we can work with those students that have higher levels of understanding and those that need a little bit more scaffolding. And then second, we can work with these smaller groups to provide that targeted instruction. So we've got groups that are needing specific skills and others that have accomplished those skills, so we can design our lessons so they are specifically targeted for the things that our individual students need. And then next, students have an opportunity to collaborate and become self-led learners. And this is something that we need to teach and we need to have students practice, but that is our ultimate goal, that they will become self-directed learners. And finally, students have multiple opportunities to reflect on their learning in many different ways when we put them into different stations, and they have different ways of learning the same type of material from different sources, whether it be face-to-face with a teacher, in collaboration groups, or if it is online learning. As you are putting together your stations and thinking about your routines, you want to make sure that things are linear rather than vertical lessons. Catlin Tucker will talk a little bit more about this in further lessons, but this is really important to think about as you are creating these lessons that would be in a rotation model. So again, one of the big whys is because this really allows for students to have differentiated instruction. So I know that some of your questions are, okay, how am I going to do this in my 51-minute period of time? Well, attached to this lesson is a video of a couple of teachers that have implemented station rotations. And so watch the video, get some insights, and then based on the information that you've learned here, give some feedback about your learning.